Hello and welcome to Business. Tullow Ghana says it has put in place the right measures to meet its production target of 180,000 barrels of crude oil a day in 2019. This, the company says, will be done in addition to rigorous maintenance work on the FPSOs to minimize any inefficiency. Kwekwa Oche is Chief Executive Officer of the oil giant.
It's very much about making sure what we call the top sides. When you go on the FPSO, hopefully you'll be there and you see the facilities. Basically making sure that all the equipment works. And it's really about the oil coming out of the seabed and then the various pieces of equipment, the heat exchangers, the compressors are all working. And, all these FPSOs, they are very large. I mean, they cost $1.5 billion easily, lots of equipment on them, compressors, exchangers, even power plants are on them, about 80 to 90 megawatts of power plants. The job that that Tullow has with MODEC, who is the main contractor, is to make sure that they are well maintained and that they are producing at the capacities that they are designed for. And as you see with a steady trend, as I said, in 2016, Jubilee, we're only producing 100,000. Now we've got 10. We are slowly increasing production. So I think the track record basically gives us belief that we can get to 180,000 barrels.
All right, we'll have more from the oil and gas industry when Emmanuel Abuajiriafi joins you with the marketplace in about 25 minutes. Now, government has justified its decision to support a financial arrangement that would help some local banks to recapitalize. This follows concerns of double standards and bias, looking at how government handled the recent collapse of 7 banks. George Afe has more.
According to a government source, it was forced to support this arrangement, which is private sector-led, because of the impact of allowing these banks to go down on the economy. The source adds that the challenge facing these banks were purely a capital shortfall issue, and it cannot be anywhere compared to the 7 other banks that were collapsed recently by the Bank of Ghana. He maintained that these 7 other banks had serious corporate governance issues as well as being insolvent, and their case was not a capital support issue. Government, we understand, was also worried about the possible job losses, and if these local banks went down, how they would affect employment in this country. They also looked at the fact that even if these banks were stepped down to savings and loans, how this would restrict their workings and impact negatively on their earnings. The proposed financial deal for these banks will result in the creation of a Ghana Amalgamated Trust. The trust is hoping to leverage on some pension funds that these private firms are managing and lend it to these banks in return for an equity or controlling stake. We're also learning that this will not be free money or a bailout, but rather a more support that will result in them having an equity in these banks. We are also learning that the deal will result in possibly taking some key positions in these banks and how they are going to be managed going forward. They also plans to float their interests, possibly listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. There are also talks of looking at whether to merge some of these banks going forward.
In other news, freight forwarders are asking for more consultation to ensure smooth operation of port clearing systems. This is after the Economic Management team directed the Ministry of Trade and Industry to immediately suspend the single window system, Unipass, which was to be facilitated by a South Korean firm. Here is Kwabno Fusuapia, president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders.
We are saying that if you do not properly work out the governance structure, you can bring whatever pass, you have the same problem. But mind you, you saw what happened even with the absence of the governance structure. We got an announcement that Unipass was going to take off on 1st of January. Just last week, we had a call out from the GRA, that we should prepare our folks for training on 24th. I said, wow, what? How can we even imagine this? So they shifted it to 27th. Then we just to show good faith, we said, okay, we'll see what we can do. It was going to be a difficult call because if you look at the psychology of the time, 27th, you call people to sit them down for training. But we told them we're going to do our best. But of course, other folks are also thinking. And you saw the directive that came from the economic management team, the decision note that asked them to shift this thing to somewhere August. Okay, so we cannot be going forward as a people like this. Why did we even have to announce the 1st of January and try to push everybody through? When you do this and you face resistance, then it is like we don't want the system to work. That is not it. Far from it. If it is a good system, it will speak for itself.
Elsewhere, Apple has rattled investors with news that its sales have been slowing, blaming economic weakness in China. In a surprise disclosure, the iPhone maker said it anticipates a revenue of about $84 billion in the last 3 months. In November, it forecast sales of at least $89 billion, a prediction that had already disappointed investors. Apple's share price sank more than 7% in after-hours trade, extending its more than 28% slide since November. The festive season is typically Apple's strongest quarter, but revenue of $84 billion would mark an almost 5% fall from the same period last year and represents the firm's first year-on-year quarterly decline since 2016. In a letter to investors on Wednesday, Chief Executive Tim Cook said the firm's sales problems were primarily in its Greater China region, which includes Hong Kong and Taiwan and accounts for almost 20% of its revenue. However, he added that developed markets saw troubles as well, as fewer customers than expected chose to upgrade to Apple's newest phones. Well, that's all for business. Up next is sports with Baba Tando.